Okay, so we're doing it. I said that I wasn't going to review this series until it all released, but I'm just too excited, so I'm doing it. We are reviewing the Spider-Geddon series as it releases, back just like when Spider-Verse was releasing. This is the review for Spider-Geddon Issue 0. Now, I know some of you guys might need a bit of a history recap, so in case you guys don't know what Spider-Geddon is, there's this series 4 years ago called the Spider-Verse. It featured every single Spider-Man from alternate universes to take down these villains called the Inheritors. At the end of Spider-Verse, we imprisoned them on a radioactive planet. They were stuck there, and basically, just to point out to you guys, the Inheritors actually need to eat Spider-Men to survive. And this is where Spider-Geddon comes into it. This event is the sequel to Spider-Verse, and what happens in Spider-Geddon is somehow the Inheritors escape from this radioactive planet and they come after all of the Spider-Men all over again. So obviously a lot has happened since then. Dr. Octopus is now the superior Ock, or something along those lines. He's not actually the superior Spider-Man anymore, but he's featured in this comic. Just to point out, I reviewed every single issue of Spider-Verse, and I mean every single issue. So if you want to go to that playlist, you can click it up here, and it will take you to the Edge of Spider-Verse, which is the lead up to the Spider-Verse, and then every single issue of Spider-Verse. So if you want to catch up, literally just binge all of those videos that I made and come and watch Spider-Geddon, because we're doing it again. I'm not joking, the Spider-Verse event was one of the best Spider-Man tie-in events of all time. It featured all the Spider-Men. It introduced us to Spider-Punk, Spider-Gwen, Spider-Man UK. Characters that were in the Spider-Verse event are still going today. Spider-Gwen is in the new Into the Spider-Verse movie.
I'm Gwen Stacy.
You know, you see what I mean? It opened a lot of doors for some brand new characters, some of which might be some of your favorite characters today. So the Spider-Verse was a big deal, and this is the sequel. So the Spider-Geddon is also a big deal. So now that we've got that history out of the way, it's time to get into Spider-Geddon Issue 0, and it features Spider-Man PS4, which is even crazier. So let's do it. Okay, so we're getting into the issue, and you can see that this comic features Spider-Man PS4, which is insane. It's so crazy to see Spider-Man from Insomniac's Spider-Man PS4 video game actually featured in a Marvel comic book, let alone the Spider-Geddon saga that is said to be one of the biggest events to happen since the Spider-Verse event 4 years ago. Now, obviously, one of the biggest things about this comic is the artwork. It is so refreshing to see something like this, yet, for some reason, it just makes you pay attention to the finer details of the action, especially with what's happening on screen right now with this villain showing up called the Tarantula. Now, something I think the comic does really well is it actually features some of the gadgets that we've come to know and love from the Spider-Man PS4 video game, like the taser webs, and there's also a few references throughout this comic that go back to the Spider-Man PS4 video game, and obviously if you've played the game, you'll completely understand where this Spider-Man stands, what he's been through, what his past is, and obviously what the recent events are in this Spider-Man's life, because obviously this comic is set just after Spider-Man PS4, and the comic utilizes that factor of his character so well. And right here we get the introduction of Superior Spider-Man recruiting Spider-Man PS4 to take part in Spider-Geddon. Now, just really quickly, I actually missed that there, but Spider-Man used a web bomb, which is obviously one of the gadgets from Spider-Man PS4, which is so much honestly, the references throughout this comic, guys, you're going to have to get used to it because the Spider-Man PS4 references are abundant. But again, going back over to what I meant about the comic utilizing the information about Spider-Man PS4, basically why it's so good that Superior Spider-Man is here is because Spider-Man PS4 had this amazing connection with his universe's Dr. Octopus, and why it's so good is because Superior Spider-Man is obviously Dr. Octopus. So throughout this comic, you can expect Superior Spider-Man and Spider-Man PS4 to get along so well, and it just makes that impact to the issue so much better, especially as the reader, knowing the stuff that's happened to Spider-Man PS4 and then knowing the stuff that's happened to Superior Spider-Man. It's genuinely awesome how they play on that Dr. Octopus and Spider-Man connection, sort of relating Peter Parker and Dr. Octopus to be very similar people, and it just hits hard, really interesting. Now, as we get through the comic, you can see Superior Spider-Man touch on that Dr. Octopus thing, and this is what triggers that reader to the comic relationship, where you as the reader understand all of this stuff from playing the game. And what's awesome as well is just how Superior Spider-Man is still the Superior Spider-Man that we've come to know and love. He's arrogant. He thinks Spider-Man PS4 is just as much of an idiot as the rest of the Spider-Men in the multiverse, but for some reason Superior Spider-Man actually likes Spider-Man PS4, and Superior Spider-Man has been teaming up with other Spider-Men, obviously back in the Spider-Verse event 4 years ago and now in this Spider-Geddon event, but these two Spider-Men teaming up together in this comic, there's just something really, really special about it. And it's even more interesting because Spider-Man PS4 PS4 creates his own gadgets, and that is exactly what Superior Spider-Man does as well. And that again is those two guys using their intellects and sort of like they're very much the same. They're just so well done. And yeah, I feel like I'm babbling on a little bit, but as we get through the issue, you sort of notice that you seem to really like Superior Spider-Man. He seems very understanding. It's almost like he relates to Spider-Man PS4, and I love it. Now, there was a point just a little bit earlier in the issue where it looked like these two Spider-Men were going to fight each other, and I genuinely sat forwards and sat on the edge of my seat as I was reading this comic, sort of wondering why Superior Spider-Man, like, you know what I mean, because we know Superior Spider-Man is Dr. Octopus. You love him, but you also have this thing in the back of your head where you feel like at any point he's going to do something evil, and that is just, that's one of the best things about Superior Spider-Man, is that you can't really predict what he's going to do next in a way. It's really interesting. And I think what's even better is the way Superior Spider-Man took down the Tarantula villain, showing off his gadgets, and especially with this particular art style, it really does show off the mechanical aspects of the issue so well, like the gadgets, the Tarantula villain's suit, Spider-Man's gadgets and all this. Like, it's just so well done. The artwork fits in so well with this universe, and if this Spider-Man PS4 comic series actually continued as a legit series, I would be so up for reading it, especially because we had a few characters from Spider-Verse a few years ago that came out of that event with series, like Spider-Gwen, we had Spider-Punk, we had Spider-Man Noir, we had the Web Warriors. Now guys, we're at that point in the issue where you really need to pay attention. Superior Spider-Man has actually just left one of his spider robots here in the Spider-Man PS4 universe after finding out where Dr. Octopus is imprisoned in the Supermax prison of the Raft. So it seems like Superior Spider-Man is up to his old tricks. I wonder if he's going to try and turn Dr. Octopus into the Superior Spider-Man in the Spider-Man PS4 universe. Will this get taken up in the Spider-Man PS4 sequel video game? There are so many possibilities. And overall, the issue was so awesome to see. Now, we're coming up to the final few pages where we jump over to the Web Warriors. Now, obviously, that features Spider-Man India, Spider-Man UK, Spider-Punk, and all of those cool guys. And it turns out they've been keeping surveillance of the Inheritors trapped on that radioactive planet on an alternate dimension. All this time later, and in case you guys don't really understand what's going on in the comic, basically the Spider-Men can't go to this radioactive Earth themselves properly, so they are sending spider robots that they've built with cameras instead. And as you can see, every time they send one of these spider robots into the base of where the Inheritors are trapped, Deimos the Inheritor just destroys them. Is his name Deimos? I think it was Deimos. This is like 4 years ago, so I'm trying to remember his name, but I think it is Deimos. But it's really cool because you can see that we're skipping ahead in time, day 54, day 55, and all that crazy stuff. You can see because they aren't feeding on the Spider-Men that they are getting skinnier, they are getting older, they're actually dying. But the mistake the Spider-Men are making is the fact that they are so naive that they think the Inheritors won't at least try and look for a way to get off this radioactive Earth. Because as you can see reading the issue, every single time they send one of these spider robots, it seems like these guys are destroying them, when really they're preserving them and using the technology from the spider robots to find a way of escaping off this radioactive Earth and coming after the Spider-Men all over again. And you can see on the last page of the comic right here, it is the Inheritors stood there, escaped, with all of the Spider-Men teamed up once again to go head to head against the Inheritors, and that is just crazy. Now guys, that is the end of Spider-Geddon issue 0, but Spider-Geddon issue 1 has already released, my review has already been created for it, and it will be uploaded later this week. But for now, let's go back on camera and highlight some of the awesome points of the comic and talk about some possibilities that could happen. Let's go. So first off, I just want to say that Insomniac Games must be so proud to have their Spider-Man PS4 character featured in this massive Spider-Geddon event. What I really like is the comic sets it up that maybe this Spider-Man PS4 will get its own comic book series full-time, maybe. I mean, the artwork by Clayton Crane alone, so good that I would honestly read a Spider-Man PS4 ongoing comic book series all the time. The artwork is amazing, it's really easy to read, and something that was really well done with the storytelling was the fact that we know this Spider-Man, we know Spider-Man PS4. If you haven't played Spider-Man PS4, then shame on you. But the sheer emotion behind this comic, knowing what this Spider-Man PS4 character has gone through, like with his relationship with Dr. Octopus, with Mary Jane, pretty much everything about this Spider-Man, you know, like the recent events in his life because of the game, and it makes this comic so much more impactful. I mean, if you've played Spider-Man PS4, I'm not going to spoil anything, but you know the relationship that Peter Parker has with his Dr. Octopus. Like, it's so emotional, and the fact that Superior Spider-Man, who is Dr. Octopus, came through to collect this Spider-Man, it just created so much emotion. Oh my god, it's so well done. Whoever was sat at Marvel Comics and thought of this idea for Superior Spider-Man to come and collect Spider-Man PS4, just Oh my god, it's so good. And I don't know if you noticed, but Superior Spider-Man actually left one of his spider bots in the universe of Spider-Man PS4. I'm wondering, does Superior Spider-Man have plans to free Dr. Octopus of Spider-Man PS4's universe? Does he have plans to turn him into a Superior Spider-Man? Like, there's so many possibilities that can come out of this. Now, the second half of the comic featured the Web Warriors keeping surveillance on the Inheritors locked up on that radioactive planet in an alternate universe. And I really like it how the Inheritors are keeping the technology being sent to them because of every time they destroy one of those spider robots. It just shows that the Inheritors are actually smart. If you've seen the Spider-Verse event, you know the Inheritors are not to be trifled with. I mean, honestly, from a comic book reader's standpoint, the Inheritors and Morlun and all that family, they are like one of the most dangerous villains to ever come up against Spider-Man. Like, it's not just like, oh, a villain that goes up against Spider-Man. I'm talking like the Inheritors are like Spider-Man's kryptonite. They could just cripple him. So yeah, I really like how the comic is playing with the fact that the escape of the Inheritors might actually be down to the Spider-Man's fault in the first place. Like, look at how much technology they've saved. Like, something's going to be created with that. And then especially at the end, it says 7 months later, and the Inheritors are free. They've escaped, and man, it's all going to go down in Spider-Geddon issue 1, which has already released, I know that. Let's rate the issue straight up, 9 out of 10. Absolutely loved it. Spider-Man PS4, Superior Spider-Man, their relationship, it looked like they got on so well, and you know they got on well because obviously Spider-Man PS4 had a good relationship with Dr. Octopus, and so it just makes sense for the relationship to be good with Superior Spider-Man as well. And it's always interesting to have time travel and alternate universes in a comic book in general, but to have Superior Spider-Man back at the center of that, awesome. Now guys, that is it for this video, but I just want to say thank you so much for you guys begging me to review this series, because I was going to wait, remember, and so it's down to you guys that I decided, yeah, it's time to get back into reviewing recent comic books again. And yeah, I'll get the Edge of Spider-Geddon comics up as soon as possible. Usually I upload every Sunday and every Wednesday, so just keep an eye on like my Twitter and my Instagram to see all the updates. I mean, I've done some updates like right here, like today. Guys, so basically we're doing some washing up right now, right there, and then we are doing Spider-Geddon issue 0. That goes up tonight. And what was I just about to say? Oh yeah, I watched the first episode of Daredevil season 3 last night. Really good. Really good. So, just editing the Spider-Geddon thing, obviously I've said it like a million times, but I'm getting some serious Spider-Verse nostalgia from this. Like, I kind of want to reread the entire Spider-Verse saga, but it's like a year long. So those updates are what you can expect on Instagram and Twitter, should you follow me on there. But in the meantime, guys, if you want some more Spider-Geddon, if you want some more vlogs, if you want some more Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, hit that subscribe button and hit like button on this video, and let me know what you thought of Spider-Geddon and Spider-Man PS4 in this comic. Let me know in the comments because I'm super interested. And until the next video, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Okay, so it's time for this 15-second end screen. So if you click this video right here, it'll take you to the playlist for my Spider-Verse like reviews, all of them. And if you click this one, you can watch my reactions to the ending of Spider-Man PS4. Thank you for watching. Click one. Click one of them.